So I figured I'd try this. The rear-facing camera is supposed to have stabilization. I don't know if that's going to work or not. I gotta get myself in a third here. Autofocus should work. Anyway, I'm on my way to a job. Actually, I probably want to do this. There we go. There we go. Good. Some more of my background. Easy go. Ugh. Oh, what was I talking about? Oh, so I wanted to start doing my vlogs on, like, not a regular, maybe once in a while, to talk to people and let them know how things are going, at least on my personal love and life. I really do love my job, and I am on my feet most days. I do a lot of traveling, but most of my days are, driving from one site to the other, climbing ladders, testing stuff. Like, I think my next job, that was yesterday. I think I'm doing a bunch of daycares today. So, one of our bigger accounts is a bunch of daycares. So, they must like me there, because it seems like I'm always going there. Which I have no problem with it. People are going to hate me for this one. I really don't like kids. When I was 18, between the ages of 11 and 18, I worked for the Y. When I was between 11 and 15, was very strongly involved with the youth soccer program. When I turned 15, they started paying me, and they're like, "Hey, we'll pay you, do what you're doing, and, be more involved, and part of, like, making the system, making sure that the kids are going on the right teams, and organizing the program, stuff like that," which I loved. I actually enjoyed it a lot, and probably would have kept going with it, but it started affecting my schedule. I wasn't able to get out of work soon enough to go, or I was making schedule changes so that way I could make it on time, and it was affecting my work environment. So I decided to put it on the back burner. When I was 18, I still continued doing it, but when I turned 18, I kind of quit completely. But at that same time, before I quit, they asked me to run the program. They wanted me to be the head director of the youth soccer program, which is not a small feat. We had age groups from 5 to 13 on a given Saturday. When we had soccer programs, we had 3 fields going. We had a field going for the 8 to 10 year olds, we had 5 to 7 year olds, and then we had 11 to 12 or 13 year olds, depending on the birth date of the student or the kid. They could technically be 12, almost 13, and still be part of the program. But no older than 13. So we had enough for because I was most of my coaching, because it's the largest field, was on the 11 to 13 group. Almost full-size regulation field. I think it was like 7/8 size of a soccer field. But I used to be in perfect shape. My legs were, I was still chubby. I've always been chubby. But I was running every day. I was staying active. The program was Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Yeah, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, they were separated. So I believe, if I can't remember, I think it was on Tuesdays. Did they do all 3 groups each day? Yeah, I think the meet was all 3, but I could be wrong. I think they split up the ages. So it was like, on Tuesday it was like the younger groups, and then on Thursdays it was the older groups. And then on Saturdays, everybody was there. And all hands on deck at that point. Plus, a lot of the work for us was show up, 2 hours beforehand, set up all the equipment, make sure all the soccer balls were properly inflated, make sure that the lines were painted on the field. It was a long day. Usually I didn't get done until the afternoon, which was fine. I enjoyed it. I got out, got the sun. I was breathing fresh air. I was running. I was doing everything I should be doing in my early 20s, or my late teens, early 20s. When I left the program, I got a tech job where I was doing fire alarm business, like what I'm doing now, and I couldn't promise to be there on time, because a lot of my jobs were like in Philadelphia, and I was determined based on the person that I was riding with, because at that time I did not have my own vehicle. I was too young. The company didn't want me to. I was 18. They didn't want to give me a vehicle, so it was just like, can't do this. So I did got out of the program, which sucks, but I had a little train of thought where I was going with this. But yeah, I miss it. I really do miss it. Anyway, I know why. When I was a senior in high school, they asked me to be. No, I wasn't a senior. I wasn't 18 yet. That's one of the main problems we had. I think it was like 16 or 17, because I could drive at the time. So I was 16 or 17, and they were like, "Hey, we need a summer camp counselor, a junior camp counselor, not a senior camp counselor, but we need somebody to help out." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever. It's kids." Yeah. Well, junior camp counselor generally falls behind a senior camp counselor. The junior camp counselor doesn't make a lesson plan. They just know what the lesson plan is. 8:30. I'm going to be there 8:38, so that's the thing. So I started working the program, and I was working with somebody. We were doing the 5 to 8 group, I think it was 5 to 8 group. It might be a 5 to 7 group, but and can I get over Furniff? try and get out of the way so these people can go around. Anywho, going left. Can't go left yet. So, summer camp counselor and we had 23 kids. But between the two of us, it was like 12 kids each. And it was more manageable. Well, this person either quit or stopped showing up or whatever the case may be. And I was now stuck with 23, screaming little kids. Actually, my kids were pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, my kids were good. And I was by myself. No lesson plan, nothing. No schedule, no lesson plan, no nothing. And I said to the kids, we're gonna do this. We're gonna figure this out. So, I had the kids, they followed me, they listened, they actually listened. I listened to them too, and I think that's the most important part. People don't understand, you gotta listen to kids. Sometimes they just speak gibberish, but sometimes, if you listen to them, they're telling you what they need or what they want. If you really truly listen to them, they tell you what you need, what they want. But the problem is you need to stop and listen to them. My coffee from Wawa, my large iced coffee, packed full of sugar, just what I need. I just need to get up today. But so the problem was, I think I got my childbearing out at that point. I went through my early 20s, 23 and 25, somewhere around there, where I wanted a kid. I talked with my girlfriends, because being a gay man, it's kind of hard to have a child unless you have a surrogate, or you adopt. And I was at this, I hate to say it, I was in a breeding mode where I wanted to have a kid. I wanted to raise a child. I wanted a little boy, little girl. I don't know about a little girl. The only reason why I wouldn't want a little girl, because I would really truly love to have a baby girl. But the only reason why I wouldn't, I think I would be way overprotective. I would be the dad with a shotgun, Guy comes over and I'm pulling him aside and I'm like, look, I understand that my daughter likes you. And I understand that you're a boy. But if you happen to hurt my daughter, I will rip your testicles off. I think I would be super overprotective, and I'm not that kind of person. I really am not that type of person, but if I had a little boy, I would try to teach him to be, protect himself. And I'm not saying I wouldn't teach my little girl to be protective, protect herself or whatever. And it's not me trying to sound sexist or anything. But in my mind, daddy's girl, I'm going to teach her, to be self-protective and stuff like that. I want to learn her. I would teach her to kick some ass. I would absolutely teach her to kick some ass. Be like, look, I don't want you to take any shit from anybody. If you get into a fight, you get in a fight. I want you to beat his ass. No pulling hair, no nothing. I want you to swing punches. I want you to beat the living shit out of this person. If it's a boy, I would expect him to learn and be strong man, and I want my children to be strong. I want my children to be independent. I want my kids to be willing or able to take care of themselves if they need to. Now that I'm 37, I'm 3 years from 40. I don't see it happening. Can I still have a kid? Absolutely. But if I have a kid now, by the time they are done college, if they decide to go to college, I would not push my child to go to college. By the time they were done college, I would be in my 60s. I would be at the end of my life. And that's a scary thought. Because I would want to see my grandkids. I would want to see my son or daughter get married. You know, I want to see them, you know, get a house and be you know, stable. Shit, I gotta get to the right here. I wonder if his bus, he's probably slow. You know, I don't see it happening. I really don't see it happening. Could I adopt? I absolutely could adopt. Do I want to adopt? No. And I know that sounds selfish. There's a lot of children out there that need homes. I'm not that home. I can't be that home. Now, if one of my family members said, look, you know, I'm sick, I can't take care of my kid, would you help, you know, take them on? I would. In a heartbeat, I would not even think about it. Yes. I would have to change a lot of things, but yes, without a doubt. But adopting a kid from a shelter, you know, trying to be their parent, you know, you're filling in for someone who abandoned them. And there's always going to be that distaste. No matter how good of a parent you are, that child was abandoned. And that is the hardest thing for me. I can't, in my mind, two things. I couldn't think of one day that child looking at me, upset with me for some reason, and just say, you can't do this because you're not my real father. You know? I'm going this way. Yes, I'm going this way. I would be destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. And I don't know how I would be able to handle that. You know, you raise a kid from either birth or young age, and you know, their whole life they think of you as their father, their parent, their loved one, and then at some point during their life, it's only right to let them know that they were adopted. You know, I'm not, you know, the biological father. But at some point during their life, they need to know this. And the thought that they would want, I mean, I can't blame them. The thought that they would want to find their parents, their biological parents, that idea just bothers me so much. And I don't know if I could do that. Now, if it was a family member or something was going on, said, hey, look, you know, can you take care of my child? It's one thing. But I got off topic. got a little sad. if I think there's a reason why I don't want kids, because I dealt with a lot of these kids at the daycare or at the gym, or the, what do you call it, the you let me over? Thanks. At the summer camp, and they were good kids, but there were a few of them that were little brats, absolute little brats, and I got my fill. I really did get my fill for kids. I mean, am I against having a kid? No. At this point in my life, probably not the smartest thing to do. Can I still have a kid? Yeah. Can I adopt? Probably. Will I? Probably not. If a family member or somebody was like, hey, look, I need you to take care of my kid because I'm sick, or maybe I made what do they call that? Godparent. If they pass away, you take care of the kids. But I've never had anybody ask me that, so it's not really a thing. I don't think it's ever going to happen. But if it ever comes down to it, it'd be nice to to have that kid, and at least I could say to that kid, look, your mom or your dad was sick, and I had to take care of you because they weren't able to do it anymore. Maybe they passed away or whatever. That's obviously that's a discussion that you would have to discuss with that kid at a certain point. But in my mind, that would be an easier discussion than, hey, look, you were adopted because your mom and dad just didn't want to take care of you because they were drug addicts or whatever the case may be. I mean, don't get me wrong, not everybody who gives up a kid is a drug addict. There's a lot of either teenage pregnancies. There are people who unfortunately were raped and either could not have an abortion, which that's a whole nother discussion. All these things could have happened. There are a number of reasons. We don't know everything. We know that somebody had a baby and they can't take care of that baby, and the baby got put into a system, or child, because it's not just babies, or children too. I guess technically they're all children, but younger children, 5, 7, 10, and there's so many of them. But I can't. Everything in my heart says that I should, and one of the good reasons about being gay is you have the ability. You're not going to have a child of your own, so take care of somebody, some child that needs a home. But like I said, there's so much involved with that. Not only that, but they make it really difficult, very expensive for you to have an adoption. I believe fostering is a little bit easier financially and requirement-wise, but the problem with that is you have a kid for, let's say, 6 months. After 6 months, that kid can go into a home, like an actual home, which is great. But that means I can't be attached. I can't become attached, because God forbid I become attached. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna answer this. Out of 12 buildings, I have 3 left to do. I was hoping to finish them on Friday because I had what seemed to be some extra time at the end of the day, but I got screwed over by that. And yesterday I thought I had some time between jobs, and that didn't turn out so well. I'm hoping today, instead of going to service work at the end of the day, I can stop and finish up that paperwork and do whatever paperwork I have hanging right now. But from understand, Isaac already has a service job lined up for me. I'm sure you don't want to hear excuses, and I apologize for not having the paperwork in right away, but I will work on it as soon as I have a minute to do that. I must have missed you this morning. I'm guessing you have my meter still. I didn't see it in my bin. Sorry, work stuff. Let me change subjects, because kid subject for me is make me a little depressed, but I would rather be a little angry than depressed. So yesterday I went to do an inspection at a building, beautiful building, an ancient building. They had a fire system. I went in and took care of most of the inspection, realized they had some problems that needed to be resolved, and work never ends. Where are you today? First off, I am at 35th and I Street at one of the daycares. I went down the wrong road. Go down to East Erie Ave. I have 2 more daycares after that. So yesterday, this inspection, I was scheduled 5 hours to do the inspection, and it was a 6-story building that took up most of a city block in Philadelphia. So very, very big building. And first time inspection generally means that yes, I'm alone. Do I need it? Not really. If you're in the neighborhood, you can swing it by. If not, don't worry about it. Just leave it in my bin. So, first part of the inspection got pretty much finished. They had a time restraint for the sound testing. Between 12 and 2:30, we were not allowed to do sound. So I contacted our office and said, hey, look, first time doing this inspection. There's a lot of devices. I think there were 122, 130 smoke detectors. There were a bunch of heat detectors, but more importantly, there were 2 halon systems. And if you know anything about halon, it's a chemical that's not used anymore to suppress fires. It's not saying you can't upkeep it, it's just, it's inefficient and it's dangerous. So most people are getting away from it. No worries, man. It's good. Are we all turning, or are we going straight here? Oh God, I love city traffic. Doesn't give up. Come on. Bitch. Bet you had to turn right there. Okay. Anywho, the job took a lot longer than I expected. We didn't even finish it. A lot of devices we had to do. Parts of the building didn't have sound. There were 2 halon systems, one of which was down, the other one was in trouble. Unfortunately, it's got, a lot of those systems will have what they call a hair trigger, so it'll just trip if you accidentally bump the wrong wire or add power to the wrong wire. And I do not want to do that, because one, halon is pretty expensive to replace, and this had a lot of halon in it. We finished the inspection, or we finished what we could, because I had actually a dentist appointment at 5, so I couldn't hang around. I had to get going. But we also replaced a bunch of devices. It was but like, my goal was, it was scheduled for, till like 1 or 2. My goal was, between that job and my next job was not an easy job, but a job I've done already, so I generally know what's going on. So walk in, I know what I'm doing, in and out, be done. But this one, unfortunately I didn't have enough time. At the end of the day, I wanted to do paperwork between the 2 jobs and finish up. I have a packet, I don't know if you can see this, a packet job that I have to finish. I did 75% of the work already at my other job, or on site, but we get told at like 2:30, oh, we're closing the shop early on that day. So I was like, oh, well, that's nice. That means that we should be done now, and I'm not going to sit around and do paperwork. And I was going to do it on the weekend, but that weekend my cat was sick, and a whole other thing. Garfield may have kidney disease, and we took him to the vet because he was throwing up his food. He's losing some weight. And to have an exam done, a blood test, and an x-ray was damn near $600. When I was there, they were like, oh, do you have, cat medical insurance? Cat insurance, whatever, animal pet insurance. I said no. I mean, I've had Garfield for 10, 12 years. Maybe not 10 years. Well, no, it's been about 10 years because I left Outback. Well, I started Outback in 2005. I left Outback in 2011, I think. Yeah. So he might only be like 7 or 8 years old. Might be 8 years old. Anyway, in the time that I've had him, he's been a good cat. I mean, he got, for sure you probably don't want to hear this, but he got crystals in his urine, and that was just a change of diet thing. So we took care of that. And then more recently, like I said, he started acting goofy. He was very, very vocal. He was meowing a lot. We give him food, and he would eat it real fast. He would throw up, and then we'd clean it up, and we'd ask for more food. We'd give him more food, and eat it, throw up. So, we were having some major issues with him strictly for a few days. Before that, he had gotten sick from eating food, but it was on occasion. It wasn't like... It was very seldom that it happened, but when it happened, I assumed that... So we feed him in the morning before I leave for work, around 6, I guess. And then again at night before I go to bed, or when I come home from work. For a while there, I was feeding him as soon as I walked in the door, which I thought was unfair, because if I were, let's say I were to work late, he wouldn't get fed until later, unless Bob decided to feed him. So I said, I'll start feeding him at 9, which was a little bit later, but I figured, I'll get him through the night so that I would be happy, and then in the morning I would feed him again. And then that way on the weekends, if I fed him a little bit later on the weekends, on a Saturday or something when I got up later, he wouldn't be completely starving. And can I go this way? I can go this way. So we started feeding him like that, and he seemed to be okay for the longest time. This is the road I want to go down. Yep, here we are. And it was just like, oh, there's a blockade. Please tell me I can turn left here. The road blockaded, so I can't go any further that way, so I gotta go around the block. Anyway, so he, like I said, he started throwing up. We took him to the vet. The vet did all this work for a ridiculous amount of money, and all said and done, he has a kidney stone and a bladder stone. So says the vet. The kidney, the one kidney that has the stone in it, is about a size and a half the size of his other kidney. So he thinks he's got kidney disease. They check for I don't know, blood test. The blood test was a generic blood test, so it covers a lot of different variants. The other one was a more specific blood test that tests for something specific. well, the one blood test, he looked at all the things, and he said everything looks good except for his liver functions. Liver functions were, I guess, slightly elevated, which gave him some concern. And then he said that the second test came in. There's a rating for this, whatever they're looking for. I think I did this one already. Is this the one with the really high ceilings? This is the one with the really fucking high ceilings. And they didn't have their breakers labeled last year. God damn it. I remember this place. This hurts. Anyway, so they, the liver function, the second test, supposedly a healthy cat is 1,000, a cat with kidney disease is like 500, and Garfield's like 850 or 875, something like that. So he's not there, but it's declining. So hopefully we got it in time. Anyway, I gotta go to work. So I'm gonna post this to Facebook or YouTube. If you want to hear more, if you have questions, let me know. There's comments and stuff down there. Just put them down there. Feel free. I'd like to hear from y'all. So, talk to you later. Bye.